Everything Suspect Podcast. It's your boy Billy D. You know how we do. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Let's get to it. Happy Black History Month. Season 2, Episode 2. I talked about Martin Luther King getting canceled. And really dope episode. And if you have a chance, go back and check it out. There's some weird stuff that's going to happen in the near future that has to do with FBI files and things that can possibly be released if they're unclassified. And well, I find it ironic that here I am again a year later doing another podcast on a figure that I hold very, very close, near and dear to my heart, that I actually look at as a hero of mine, and that's Malcolm X. I don't know if Netflix released the Martin Luther King versus the FBI in February on purpose, or maybe they didn't release it in February, but I know that I watched it during Black History Month last year. And then on February 21st this year, we have attorney Benjamin Crump filing a lawsuit against the New York Police Department, the FBI, and the CIA for $100 million in a wrongful death suit against Malcolm X. I have this thing that I'm doing. It is my goal in life. I love to travel. I'm a nerd. I like to study, and there are some people who I call my heroes, and that is Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, Bob Marley, and to a lesser extent, Barack Obama. It's my goal that in my 40s that I wanted to chase my heroes. And by chase, that means I want to walk where they walk, see what they saw, do research on them, and I do it on my birthday. So 2 years ago, I went to Memphis, and I went to the National Civil Rights Museum, and I walked through everything that Martin Luther King had did when he passed. I read a book on him, and just wanted to feel that vibe. And he's a hero of mine. I did, and it's wild because my birthday is in March, and with February being the month prior to March, it's my goal, or I already have plans this year, that in 3 weeks from now I will be in New York, and I do plan on chasing Malcolm X. And by doing that, I'm going to go to I'm going to take a tour of Harlem, a paid tour. Well, the tour starts at the mosque that he used to preside over. From there, we'll go to the Autobahn on my own. From there, I'll drive to his home that's still standing. And then lastly, I plan on going to Westchester and visiting his graves and paying my respects. And that's how I chase my heroes. I read one of their books, and then I walk their path as best as I can in a weekend to enrich myself and to walk in their shoes. So it was wild when I saw that on the death date, on 58-year anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X, that Benjamin Crump has teamed up with the family of Malcolm X to file this lawsuit. So let's get to it. I don't know where to begin and end with this, but for those who don't know, go and watch the first episode of Everything Suspect Podcast. I don't care for Benjamin Crump. And when I heard that it was him that was leading it up, it was really paint by the numbers. This is a tricky one for me because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I am a Christian, and but I have a massive respect for Islam, and I have a huge respect for those who are devout Muslims. Even being a person who has been to war twice in an Islamic country, but I think in order to have this conversation, I have to speak freely without offending anybody. And I remember a year ago watching the Who Killed Malcolm X documentary. And it was this gentleman who is a historian who just took it upon himself to go to all these places in New York and New Jersey and really do the research with FBI files and everything else on who killed Malcolm X and ask people difficult questions. It's a very dope documentary, and if you have an opportunity, I think you should check it out. But I believe, and this is just me, I don't, part of the reason why I don't care for Attorney Crump is simply because he doesn't come across to me as intelligent. I don't know, maybe it's his vernacular, I don't. And then I shared, I went to a and that's what prompted the first episode of Everything Suspect podcast. I actually went to a protest in High Point, North Carolina, for a young man who was killed by an undercover cop, and I was at the march. And he came with his people, and you know what I mean? It was, I don't like his vibe. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't feel him. And it's very Black Lives Matter-ish. And I've never cared for Black Lives Matter either. And I told people a long time ago, like, give it time and things is going, like, you know what I'm saying? You're going to understand, like, Black Lives Matter ain't the movement. And now you got a lot of people who have issues with Black Lives Matter. Namely, folks who Black Lives Matter took up the reins and decided, like, you know, to ride for those people and their families, the victims' families. A lot of them feel used because of what Black Lives Matter did and how it enhanced them, but they didn't see anything from it. And I feel like, you know, Ben Crump is of the same ilk, but the issue with Ben Crump is, like, dude, he's getting paper, and he's a civil rights attorney, and primary word in there is civil, and by civil that means money. And what I can say is he is getting money. He's getting money for these people who are victims, who their family members are victims of some kind of injustice due to civil rights. He is civilly making sure these people are getting paid, and there in turn he collects his portion of that money, his cut off the top of the money he's getting for these people. So that's what leads me to have this podcast, because it is Benjamin Crump who is taking these government agencies to court for $100 million over the wrongful death of Malcolm X. And I have an issue with it. Not because I don't believe Malcolm X is due, or his family is due, some kind of fiduciary windfall for what was done to him, but because the matter in which is done, I honestly believe Benjamin Crump, and look, this is all conjecture and this is just opinion, none of this is facts. It's just the way I think his mind works. And I don't want to make this all about him, but I can't talk about this situation without explaining to you the person who I think Benjamin Crump is. I believe Benjamin Crump watched Who Killed Malcolm X. And then I believe that he saw that the gentlemen, there were 3 gentlemen who were involved and who were incarcerated for the death of Malcolm X. And 2 of the men were exonerated. Okay. And when they were exonerated, they sued the state of New York, and they won $36 million from the state of New York for wrongfully being locked up for the murder of Malcolm X. And they say that the primary shot that killed Malcolm X was from a shotgun. And the gentleman who said he was the person who fired that gunshot into Malcolm X is Mujahid Abdul Halim. Forgive me if I mispronounced it, but he actually confessed to murdering Malcolm X. And guess what? He was paroled over 10 years ago. With his being paroled 10 years ago, when he got locked up, or during the time of his incarceration, he made it a point to say that the other 2 gentlemen that y'all have locked up for the death or the murder of Malcolm X, they had nothing to do with it. It was all me. He had been saying that for the longest time. While these gentlemen were locked up, they finally listened. They finally got out of jail. They finally got a windfall of money. However, one of the gentlemen who was exonerated died while incarcerated. So he never got to see that he was released from prison, of course, and he never got a chance to reap the benefits of the lawsuit in which he was awarded part of that $36 million. So I believe Ben Crump looked at this daggone documentary and thought to himself, there's money here. If the people who killed Malcolm X were able to get $36 million for not killing him, I believe Malcolm X's family should be able to get way more for them killing him, right? Let's go and talk about, before we go any further, let's discuss what he said that is giving him cause to sue the FBI, the CIA, and the NYPD. One of his quotes is, "The governmental agencies had factual and exculpatory evidence." Please forgive me if I said that wrong. Evidence that they fraudulently concealed from the families of Malcolm X, from the family of Malcolm X, and the men wrongly convicted of crimes surrounding the assassination of Malcolm X. So that's the reason why I believe he thinks, because he includes the gentlemen who were wrongly accused in his statement. And he said, if they can get money off of them, I know that we should be able to get money off of them. And here's what I didn't do that I should have done. I know that in civil and then in criminal, the preponderance of evidence is greater or lesser than one or the other, right? Because, like, look at OJ. OJ was found not guilty of killing the people who died. You know what I mean? His ex-wife and Mr. Goldman. However, he was found liable for the deaths. So civilly, he was found guilty, but criminally, he was not. And I think that's the realm in which we're trying to, where I think Ben Crump is trying to get. He does not believe that these agencies killed him. However, he does believe they are civilly at fault for what happened to him. And so when it comes to these court cases, I don't know where reasonable doubt falls, right? Of course, we can talk about the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover and how he felt about black folks and his issues with Malcolm X, and even to a greater extent his issues with Martin Luther King and like their constant beef, and how he tried to take down the movement. He was 100% against any black movements, that being Christian, radical, Black Panthers, NOI. He was against all those things, right? So yes, I do believe that, the FBI or those government agencies, they probably did see Malcolm X as a threat at the time. However, if Benjamin Crump is really, really doing the work, wouldn't we have to look at or really doing the work of being just, right? Because and maybe that's where we're falling. Maybe that's where we're falling short. Maybe I think he should be doing the work of what is just, and I don't think that he's doing the work that is just. Because I have all the respect in the world for, like I said, Islam and even the Nation of Islam to a certain extent, because of Malcolm X's, a lot of what he said when he was with that organization, I think it still rings true today. Society, from a society standpoint, when it comes to black folks. So for that, the teachings that he received and what he taught his people, I think is very, very relevant to black folks. And I believe that what he thought and his philosophies are something that I believe us as black folks should follow. Not all of it, but coming together and being aware and taking care of your community first, and having pride in who you are and where you come from. There are some things that I believe could make us better as a community today if we follow some of the principles that Malcolm X taught, and he got those things from the organization that he followed. But bust it, he was silenced by his organization at a time where our nation was in a bad spot politically. And from there, his relationship with his organization dwindled. And then, if you don't know the story of Malcolm X, he did his pilgrimage, as all Muslims are supposed to do, I believe. And he came back reborn. He came back renewed. And he decided to distance himself, if not break away completely from his organization. Now, that same organization didn't appreciate what happened, and let's keep it a buck. The three gentlemen who went to jail, and the one specifically who admitted to killing Malcolm X, were part of said organization. If you're an attorney and you're doing what is just, wouldn't it make sense to go after the organization who has the person who admitted to killing this individual, rather than the other organizations that might have been spying on him, that might have been trying to silence him, that might have been trying to do things that they might have wanted him dead? But the truth of the matter is, we literally have the guy, we literally have the smoking gun, and you go after another organization. It's a cash grab is what I'm getting at, folks. Benjamin Crump is trying to cash grab off the death of Malcolm X. That's my opinion. That's why I don't rock with him. That's why I've never liked him. This is very whatever of him. Like, and look, here's the bad part. Don't want him to go after the Nation of Islam. But that's just my personal, like I'm not a member of the Nation of Islam, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want them to be sued for $100 million. You know what I'm saying? But I also know that in his profession, to be a civil rights attorney, and you're not really going after, you're not really trying to solve the crime, you're not really trying to do anything except get money for victims at any cost by any person, I have an issue with it. I do believe Malcolm X's family is due something. I do believe, I mean, just the thought, like he was killed at 39 years old. To think that I'm older than Malcolm X, and the impact that he's had on my life, and I'm older than him now, is like amazing to me. But something about this doesn't sit right with me. Now, we all know that 90% of all cases end in a settlement. So, I mean, I guess if you shoot for the stars, you'll land on the clouds. So Malcolm X's family should see something between those three agencies. If the NYPD had $36 million to give to the two gentlemen who they wrongfully incarcerated for decades, they definitely have 1/3 of $100 million to give to the Malcolm X family. But the question I have to you is, will they win? How much should they get? And should other organizations be involved? Are we going after the wrong organizations? I had a real social dilemma. And if you go back and listen to season 1, episode 1, when it came to Benjamin Crump, I had a big issue with, internal struggle with, do you just get behind the person because, we all want the same thing. Ultimately, he just has a different way of doing it, but his way gets more results than mine does. So should I just bite the bullet and get behind him and throw up my fist and do the chant? Or is there other ways to make an impact on Black issues? You know what I'm saying? Because like, on one hand, I honestly believe that the only way that we can truly have success is by all coming together. That's what happened in the 60s with the civil rights movement. They had solidarity. They did not get on them buses. They figured out a way to do it without the buses, and they crippled. They shook the infrastructure at its core through disabling it by not using their money, by not giving them their money. You know what I'm saying? They broke the they brought the establishment to their knees. So togetherness is something that 100% needs to be done in order to reach a goal. But it's hard to do it behind somebody who you don't care for. You don't like them. You don't like the way they move. And here we are again with the same dilemma. But the more that it happens, the more that I'm like, yo, I don't think I care for Benjamin Crump. Even like every time I see his face in another case, I just feel more validated to just say, I don't think this dude is for us. He's for himself. And I believe that, the bad part about this case is that the organization I feel he should be going after, he's not going after. But I don't feel like he should go after him. But that's just because he... You get what I'm saying? It's the duality in it all. You know what I mean? And this is the reason why I can't. I don't like Benjamin Crump. All in all, I'm back to episode 1, season 1. I want the Malcolm X family to receive some kind of retribution for what happened to him. I just want it to be the right person. I don't know, man. What do y'all think? Y'all do it, man. Like I said, Everything Suspect podcast, man. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Hit the comments, man. Let me know what y'all think of this. What should it be? How much should they get? And are we suing the right people? Y'all chill.
Everything Suspect podcast.